Thank you for that introduction, Chair. Full disclosure, I'm from Tipperary. Delighted to be here in a sporting venue in Cork. I've led the cancer control programme for 3 years. With that comes the obligation to sit in the HC leadership team to talk about all cancer issues, and also sit in the drugs group to be a part of the clinical appraisal and cost appraisal for all new cancer drugs. I've been on the board of Cancer Trials Ireland since last year, and last summer became chair of the board of the National Cancer Registry, and that's where I was this afternoon when I should have been here for the earlier sessions. 2 weeks ago I was in Lyon for the second time, sitting on the Scientific Council of the IARC, which again, it's really not first world issues, but it's actually interestingly diverse, and you meet people from all over to get perspectives on other cancer systems. No matter who we are in healthcare, we work in an environment that is surrounded by regulations and legislation set by government. The government responds to the economy, so when the economy is going good, we can expect to get a dividend from that to invest in improving our services. We work in institutions, we have relationships with other institutions. I work very closely with the registry, with Cancer Trials Ireland, the Irish Cancer Society. I think anybody active in cancer service in this country has those relationships. International relationships are important. We participate in joint actions. We are members of UICC. I should have had the foresight to put in a slide here talking about relationships like UPMC and the bonds, because that's what today's all about. Where do you want to be? This is my Etch-a-Sketch approach to kind of cancer outcomes, cancer epidemiology, as simply as you can make it. We're in 2018. Cancer incidence curves are like this, mortality curves are like that. We want to go from 2018 to 2026. We want to bend those curves, and how do we do that? On the incidence side, really, it's about public health. It's about smoking and drinking and sunburn and all that sort of boring long-term messaging, but we're actually quite good at it in this country compared to some other jurisdictions not too far away. How do we bend the mortality curve? It's by picking the right services and the diagnostics and therapeutics, getting the investment done, introducing them early, and when we have active research, we get that early adoption right. Here are the actual curves over the last 20 years, so incidence is going up. Males more than females are age standardized, but thankfully mortality is coming down, and you hopefully would have seen this slide 1 or 2 more times today. Here is a paper which is the biggest paper of the year to my mind, which is online in The Lancet at the end of January. It's the Concord 3. It's 37 million patients' outcomes, 5-year survival, 18 of the more common cancers, 71 countries. So just taking out the Irish data, 3 time periods from 2005 years to 2004, 2009, 2014. So the common cancers, we have made progress. And I think this didn't possibly get the airtime it deserved, but rectal cancer survival has gone from 51% to 61% in that period of time. Common cancer, male, prostate cancer, 83%, 84% up to 91%. Breast cancer, 77% to 82%. So in this country, we've made progress. I haven't put up the league tables because they're not as important or as relevant. We are kind of mid-table. We need to move up the table, but I think that's possibly over-interpreting the data. As Frank said earlier, and I agree, KPIs have a certain use, but once you get it right, you throw out those KPIs. You need to move to better KPIs, more clinically relevant KPIs, and the ones that are relevant to patients, not to bureaucrats. So it's timely access to high quality treatment, survival outcomes, so side effects of disease, side effects of treatment, and what quality of life can your patient expect as they get through treatment and beyond. And what is the total cost of care, not to the state, not to the institution, but to the patient? Will they be back in full employment? Will they cover the mortgage, lose the house, that sort of thing? Those are value discussions that we're only starting to learn how to use. Here's the way we were. This is, I think, a Life magazine picture of the 1950s. They're all men, they're using chalk, they're on ladders. I think maybe they were NASA engineers, but in the 1980s when I started training, it wasn't far off that sort of picture. Now we're obviously moved from chalk to keyboards and touchscreens. But even though we've had 3 cancer strategies, the second cancer strategy was evaluated in 2014 by an external panel, and they found we did certain things pretty well in this country. Leadership and centralization had come along. There was now a recognition of the central importance of quality assurance. We were working with GPs rather than against them. We had screening programs, and we were actually practicing what we preached about evidence-based care. There were weaknesses. We have high-quality staff in cancer services, and I firmly believe that we just don't have the quantity to match the quality. So we need to start cloning our hiring and recruiting staff across the board. Infrastructure, capital investment, that has now changed in the last couple of years. We're seeing not 1 but 2 new radiation centres in Cork in the next couple of years. The vision for the future comes through the National Cancer Strategy. It took a long time to get this published. Sharon was part of it. it went on for a long time, but actually it's a high quality document. It says the simple things really well. There are changes coming. They're under public health, which is trying to reduce burden. It's the incidence curves, optimal care, quality of life, and patient involvement in designing services and making sure that changes happen. I remember when on the launch day, the only question the minister was asked consistently by everybody was, show me the money. Thankfully, with the service plan for this year on the HSE side, there is a significant increase in the money to put into new posts, and that will start in the next number of months. So what are we doing in cancer control about with the strategy? Well, we're completing an implementation plan. I think it'd be right to share that as a public document, whoever wants it. It is a lot of very obvious stuff. It's focusing on data, trying to measure, trying to collect the data painlessly, rather than having people manually inputting from paper to Excel to whatever. That has to become a pain-free process. Care standards have to be high across the board. We have to get manpower right in terms of training and in terms of numbers. We need to build buildings and we need to close down old buildings that are well beyond end of life, and the older equipment that's in them. What I want to do in the next number of years is see cancer centres, public, private, regardless, having external accreditation either at a European or international level. And that is a long-term project, but I think it's one we have to start committing to at this point. Final slide is a picture, and it's the wrong sport for this venue, but actually the analogy is fairly straightforward. Cancer care is complex. It is expensive. The team is highly trained. They are not on Excel on the boat. There are sensors built into that. Behind the scenes on shore, there are computer engineers doing computer work, which is the data, pushing out readable reports. So I think what we want to do is get our patients around, through the course of treatment around a race course, as quickly and safely as possible. We're not competing against each other necessarily, but we are competing against a goal of improving outcomes as quickly as possible. So thank you for your attention, and today really was an excellent meeting. I wish I'd been there for all of it, but I wish you well with this project over the next couple of years, and I'll be visiting to see how it comes along, making sure the standards are right and the outcomes are good. So thank you.
Thank you for being here. So that's it. I think it falls to me now to close this symposium. I'd like to thank all of our speakers. It really was an excellent day, very informative and enjoyable, and it was a long day, but I think most people have stayed, so that's I think a good indication of the quality of presentations and speakers. So thank you to all. I'd like to thank David Neville and his team in InvestNet for putting together and organising today. The people that put together, I won't name them now, the people in UPMC and Bon Secours that worked very hard in organising all of this and doing the communication and the planning of it. Thank you to all of them. And most importantly, for the people who have joined us today, you all, thank you for being here and thank you for your attention. And I hope you'll all stay now for some drinks and hors d'oeuvres. Thank you very much.